territorial integrity, and national interests. In addition to this primary responsibility, the defense forces are scaling up activities on the civil-military relations front. This has seen them joining hands with the country's health sector in the fight against COVID-19, as well as helping in the mitigation of new threats, such as climate change, induced national disasters. The recognition and welfare of the brave men and women who sacrificed for the freedom and democracy we enjoy today is continuously guaranteed. 2021 has witnessed the enactment of the Veterans of the Liberation Struggle Act. The operationalization of this act has paved the way for the establishment of the Veterans of the Liberation Struggle Board, the Heroes Dependents Assistance Board, and the appointment of the War Victims Compensation Fund Commissioner. Measures are now in place to restructure assistance programs to support economic projects run by our veterans of the liberation struggle. To entrench the work ethic of the Second Republic and the culture of accountability, all our permanent secretaries signed the performance contracts in December 2020. At the end of 2021, the number evaluation of the contracts will be conducted. In January 2022, all the heads of state-owned enterprises, parastatals, as well as local authorities will be required to sign similar contracts in order to guarantee that our citizens enjoy the value for money. In furtherance of our re-engagement drive, our country continues on its quest to be a friend to all. Within the Committee of Nations, Zimbabwe continues to seek new frontiers for investment and trade. We are thus participating in the Dubai Expo 2021, which is running until March 2022. In addition to such initiatives, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Trade, along with other ministries, departments and agencies, also host trade and investment promotion events in line with my administration's economic diplomacy thrust. I want to heartily commend all Zimbabweans in the diaspora for their patriotism and contribution towards the national development agenda and building our mother country, Zimbabwe. Mr. Speaker said, Madam President, allow me now to shift focus to the legislative agenda for the fourth session of the 9th Parliament. I'm aware that some bills could not be dispensed with and were carried over from the third session. Of the existing statutes which require to be aligned with the Constitution, it is pleasing that only 32 statutes remain to be enacted under the alignment process. These must be completed during this session. 30 bills are still with the respective line ministries. Of these, the principles of 2 bills have been approved by cabinet, while 11 are still with ministries. The Second Republic will continue to maintain its responsive and proactive stance to the emerging needs of our society national security body and is on schedule to submit the third second universal periodic report to the United Nations Human Rights Council in Geneva. The Second Republic is also committed to ratifying all standing bilateral investment promotion and protection agreements. Furthermore, Parliament is also expected to ratify the Marrakesh Agreement establishing the World Trade Organization. In the health sector, this session is expected to expedite consideration of the Medical Services Amendment Bill, the Medical Aid Societies Bill, and the Health Professions Amendment Bill. These should result in a consolidated legislative strategy to achieve universal health coverage, enhanced access, and affordable health services for all people. Parliament will equally consider the amendment of the State Universities Statutes Bill, which seeks to amend the acts governing the 30 state universities to align with the Constitution and enhance conformity with the Heritage-Based Education 5.0 policy. The Broadcasting Services Amendment Bill will see further liberalization of the broadcasting sector. In the financial services sector, the Insurance and Pensions Commission IPEC bill is set to empower IPEC to prescribe a minimum level of assets and liabilities. It will also provide for the establishment of the Protection Fund for policyholders and pensions and the Provident Fund bills. On the other hand, the Securities and Exchange Act should be amended to widen the definition of securities to include virtual asset service providers. This will enable the Securities and Exchange Commission to regulate and supervise virtual asset service providers on a risk-based approach. This will be complemented by amendments to the Money Laundering and the Process of Crime Act. The vision of the Act seeks to provide for the identification and assessment of money laundering and terrorist financing risks that may arise in relation to virtual assets. It will further ensure that appropriate sanctions are applicable to errant virtual assets service providers. Their directors and senior managers will not escape. The Deposit Protection Corporation Act is also being amended to align the legislation with international best practice. Mr. Speaker, Madam President, allow me to highlight that Parliament will soon be requested to consider legislation relating to the implementation of the devolution agenda. Of special note is the presentation of the Provincial Council's Amendment Bill. The requisite legislation used by the lower tiers of the state to ensure efficient implementation of the devolution agenda will also be amended. These include Urban Council's Amendment Bill, Rural District Council's Amendment Bill, Regional Town and County Planning Amendment Bill, and the Traditional Leaders Amendment Bill. Parliament is also expected to consider the municipal courts and the police bill, as well as the liquor licensing bill intended to ensure the efficient discharge of the various mandates of these local authorities. The Second Republic is committed to ensuring that communities and all relevant arms of the state are adequately organized and capacitated to implement best practices of disaster risk management. As legislation on disaster risk management will strengthen our nation's responsiveness and preparedness to tackle disasters. Through the Labor Amendment Bill, the dispute settlement machinery will be rationalized to remove cumbersome confirmation procedures. It also seeks to align the Labor Act with ratified international labor organization conventions, including freedom of association, the right to maternity leave, and equal remuneration for work of equal value. With regards to the welfare of our parliamentarians, the proposed amendments to the Parliamentary Pensions Act should address deficiencies identified in the present Act. Government has initiated a process to amend the Cooperative Societies Act in view of the changes in the socio-economic environment and the need to restructure operations, efficiencies, and the growth of cooperatives. To enhance good governance, transparency, and accountability among private voluntary organizations, the Act governing these entities is going to be amended. The bill seeks to align the Act with the best practices, including on adherence to the Financial Action Task Force standards. Proposed amendments will further ensure that private voluntary organizations operate within the thematic parameters under which they were registered. The Persons with Disabilities Bill is set to amend the 1992 Disabled Persons Act, informed by other contemporary legislation on disability rights. With regards to children, the Child Justice Bill seeks to establish a child justice system for children in conflict with the law in accordance with the Constitution and international obligations. Additionally, the Guardianship of Minors Amendment Bill will amend the Guardianship of Minors Act by revising matters incidental to the definition of guardianship and custody. Through the Administration of Justice Amendment Bill, government intends to align the Administration of Justice Act with the Constitution. The Judicial Laws Amendment Bill will amend the High Court Act, Labor Court Act, the Magistrates Court Act to ensure the proper functioning of the lower courts and efficient justice delivery. The fourth session will consider the Prisons Amendment Bill targeted at establishing a progressive system based on principles of rehabilitation and reintegration of offenders into society. The Independent Security Services Complaints Commission Bill, which seeks to provide for an independent complaints mechanism where members of the public should equally be considered during this session. The Defense Amendment Bill and Personnel and Mines Prohibition Amendment Bill and the Biological and Toxin Weapon Welfare Bill will also be tabled before the fourth session in accordance with the need to fulfill our country's international obligations. I'm also aware of the expectation to migrate to the new Parliament bill in Hampton. The progress on the construction works to date is indeed pleasing. The parliamentarians, I wish to reiterate the need to expedite the legislative work that lies ahead for the remainder of this year. And going into 2022, let there be a common desire to prioritize the enactment of laws which reflect and give impetus to the developmental aspirations of our people. Mr. Speaker, Madam President, in concluding my address, I wish to express my profound gratitude to all the people of our great country for collectively creating and sustaining an atmosphere of peace, love, harmony, and unity. I urge us not to tire in doing well, working hard in building our mother country. In the due season, we shall surely reap successes and prosperity in the Zimbabwe we all want and we all deserve.